Alright, today we have this beautiful, I'd say canary yellow Lotus. This thing is sweet. It is just sweet. I love Lotus. Looks good, but this one is getting our paint enhancement package. It can go for your car too, your everyday driver. It's actually relatively inexpensive. The whole objective of what we're doing today is to get the gloss up on it, to make it look a little shinier than what it is. It's a great looking car, but it's an old car. So let's see if we can't get it back up to snuff. Today we get to work on this beautiful Lotus Europa, and you can see that it's an older vehicle. It is from 1973. It is a World Champion Car Constructors Award on the side of it. You can see. And I did not know what World Constructors Championship was, and what it is it's presented by the FIA to the most successful F1 constructors over the course of a season through a point system based on individual Grand Prix results. That's innovative in its nature. It's got the dual gas tank. I love this look. I love this little car. With that said, we're not trying to damage the paint. We don't want to damage the paint at all, so we have to go about this one a little bit different than what we would normal vehicles. The process is really close to being the same, but again, on this one, less is going to be more. Beautiful little picture of this Lotus. So, as we're starting on the Lotus, we got to go about this one a little bit different. It is the original paint. It is old. It is most likely thin. And the very first thing you see me doing is inspecting the kick panel, what type of material that's made out of, and inspecting the paint. So what I'm looking for in the paint is any type of paint defects from the factory or when it was painted last. The other thing I'm looking for is swirl marks, minor abrasions, or marring. Reason why I'm doing this is because if I'm going around and checking and I see something crazy going on with it, I can inform the customer. It gives us less liability and it keeps the customer informed prior to us starting. Now, once we get done with our wax stripping wash and we go through and do a decon, anything that might be on that paint, we are going to strip off. So that way we get it down to the bare paint. Now, the very first thing you can see Tyler, he's already started on that wheel. Go over the other side, you can see us starting. These wheels, if you looked at the ring before we started, they're made out of aluminum. Now this aluminum is not like the aluminum that it is today. This is original equipment. It's a cast aluminum, but it's not as strong as what it is today. The other problem is a lot of times what they would do is they would polish bare aluminum and there wouldn't be anything to cover that. So the whole wheel, we're covering this whole wheel with the proper wheel cleaner, meaning that this is a non-acidic wheel cleaner because we don't know how that aluminum is going to react. Now it looks like it was done and had a little bit of polish done on those rings, not a high-end polish, just look like a 600 and buff. But if we were to put an acidic wheel cleaner on there, what would happen is that it would actually destroy or start to eat away, corrode the surface layer of that aluminum. Then we would have to sand it all down. Obviously, this man would want it correct. This customer would want it correct. We would have to get rings in there and then get in there and polish, which would be very difficult to do. So when it comes to an older vehicle like this, you kind of need to know what you're doing before you start attacking it. You got to have a plan of attack before you just start ripping into it. So the non-acidic wheel cleaner may not get some of that brake dust off, but as opposed to using an acidic wheel cleaner and destroying the aluminum, there's another way that we can go about it to get them clean. Now I'm going to speed the video up to save from boredom. We don't have a lot of shots on this one. I actually had some video that got corrupted, so we didn't have anything. But this process is pretty simple. We get done cleaning the wheel, we rinse it off. Now, as far as going about it a different way is cleaning it and not using an acidic cleaner, we are going to do an iron remover over the whole vehicle. On top of that, we're going to let this rim dry as we're doing everything else on the paint and double check it. If it needs to be gone over, that's what we'll do. The active ingredient in most iron remover and fallout removers is ammonium thioglycate. It speeds up the process of oxidation when it comes into contact with ferrous metals. It allows them to be pulled apart from the panel or the paint so they can be rinsed away easily. Now, when you get an older vehicle like this, since the paint's thin, you don't know if it's a single stage paint. You don't know if it's a dual stage paint. You don't know. So you don't know if it's been repainted. There's a bunch of variables with that. So with as clean as this paint looks, we kind of got to eyeball it here. With as clean as it looks, I am unsure. It's most likely original. So with that said, I'm going to dilute our iron remover so it doesn't eat or etch into the paint. Now we're doing a pre-rinse, and it's pretty easy. We're just rinsing the vehicle off. Now if you look, what the leftover spotting, water spotting is there, is picked up some dirt. Now what happens is if you don't pre-rinse and you just foam soap it down, you go over it with your microfibers trying to wash it, you're taking that little bit of dirt and just kind of grinding it in there. So we do a pre-rinse, we do the iron remover, we put the iron remover on afterwards, and there's a debate about that, whether you should put it on after you wash the car or before you wash the car, after cleaning or before cleaning. What we like to do is we like to give it a rinse, and then we will go over it with the foam soap after that. That is the best way to walk away from any type of scratching. Unfortunately, like I said before, we had some corrupted videos, so we didn't get all the shots that we wanted to, like the iron river reacting with the paint, which there wasn't a lot there, again, because this is a pretty clean car. Overall, we really didn't have anything react. Obviously, down at the wheels, we had some reaction down at the wheels, but above and beyond that, the paint was as clean could get. I couldn't find any reactions. At this point, Tyler's kind of rinsing off the vehicle, and when he gets done rinsing it off, we're going to foam soap it down and give it a wash. So speed up the rinse off process really quick. And again, the iron removing is already done, so we'll move on to the next process. So watch Tyler, brand new microfiber out of the bucket. That's what we're going to wash this vehicle with. Now that we're in the wash process, it's pretty simple. We foam it down. Once we get done foaming it down, we go from top to bottom and wash it. Each panel gets a new side of a microfiber. Pretty simple. Let's play a little music in the background while we're working. Get something 70 eras approved. Now we're done with the wash process, time for the clay treatment. Okay, so our clay treatment process is pretty straightforward on majority of the vehicles. We lubricate the vehicle up on the paint, and then we go along with our clay mitts. This one, we are actually using older, worn out clay mitts, and the reason why is because a clay mitt or clay bar is abrasive to the paint. We don't want to scar the paint, we don't want to abrade it, and we don't want to have any marring. So with that said, we're going to go with ones that are worn out. We're going to be less likely to mar the paint, and anything that we do mar the paint with in the polishing process, we'll be able to get that out, or the abrasive out, the visual aspects of it, to where you won't be able to see it. That's the big thing about the clay treatment. We want to get everything out of the paint before you start with a polish. The problem is that you can scratch the paint during the clay process. So sometimes as you're doing a clay process, you want either a really low abrasive clay mitt or a very low abrasive clay bar. Now there are instances where you need something more abrasive, less than sandpaper, more than your rag. So something somewhere in the middle there, you're going to need something like that in certain cases, like overspray would be a good example, or if we're going with a full-on board coating and it really doesn't matter about marring. the type of polishing that we're going to be doing in this next section. The polishing is a very light polishing, so it's not meant to get anything deep out. That's not what we're going for. Remember at the beginning of the video I went, we're going to try to get the gloss up on this, so we're shooting for it getting it shinier. We don't have to worry so much about visual scratches, because as far as I could see, there were none in there. It's just getting the haze out. Time to do our next process, a quick polish. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the process, and this is what makes the paint enhancement, our paint enhancement, so unique. So this is a professional grade polish, like a single stage polish, and it is has a glaze filler in it. So it's a very light glaze filler, but I'm also using the softest pad I can get my hands on. So as we're going over this paint, we're not necessarily really touching the paint, or we're working it a little bit, but we're just trying to hit the surface on this. That's all we're trying to do. And any micro abrasions that we can't necessarily see, what this glaze is going to do is it helps fill in those micro abrasions. When it does that, this is when it gives this vehicle a very glassy look. It's an awesome look. It just looks wet. When we get done with this, and unfortunately, again, here's the corrupt video excuse again, we just didn't have any video of us putting on our year-long coating after this. So this guy, after talking to the customer, this guy tells us that he doesn't drive this very much. Oh, gee, I wonder why. And then the other thing is that he keeps it in a garage. So what we've just done here should last him for years to come, especially if he's not driving in the rain, he's not going out and then he, shows out in the middle of the field or anything crazy like that. If he's just putting it around and going to a couple select car shows here and there, Cars and Coffee or something like that, this is perfect for this application. So not only did we make the customer happy by keeping the cost down for him, but now we have something that's going to last him for a few years. So on the average, that keeps the cost per year very low. I'm so glad that we actually got some video footage extracted out of our recording device just so we could be able to make a video with this vehicle. We got some shorts with it, just didn't work out well, but I'm so glad that we finally got this up on our channel. It is a classic. It is such a cool car, and every time I see one of these, I always think of, I think of James Bond. I don't know why, but it kind of fits that James Bondish look. So we're going to go through the polishing process. I'm going to speed up the video on it. That way you guys can watch it in a quick manner, and then we'll get to the end for what it ended up looking like. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, we're done polishing. Time for the big reveal. Let's see if we got it any glossier. Well, I think it's very apparent that we got the gloss clicked up on this thing just a hair. It ended up beautiful, looking like glass. That's what we were going for. So we got done with our year-long coating, so we did our quick polish on it. We got done with our year-long coating, and you can see the results. It does make a difference. This car was beautiful before we started, and now it is just popping. It looks wet. All the way around it looks wet. This is what paint should look like on a car. When you got a good looking car, this is what the paint should look like. Well, we had fun doing this one. I think it was an awesome car. Again, it's the world champion thing. I had no idea what it was, but found out a little bit. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And again, this thing turned out perfect. You guys end up having a good week. Thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you live in the Cincinnati area and need services from us, give us a call, 513-316-3802.